Good morning everyone, welcome back to my channel. So before I get started working again on our little panel here, focusing I think on the flowers today, I received a order I placed for a personalised label, and I thought I'd just show you because we're all stitching, and I mentioned a little while ago that signing our work is important, so that when the years roll by and our work appears somewhere, they'll have a bit of an idea of who may have made it, and you should always put the date on it. And if you really have room, put where it is made so that they know if it's England or Australia. But in the meantime, that sort of got me thinking, and I've been looking at labels that have been pre-printed for me for some time, and I finally decided, right, I've got to do something, and I found this company. The order has arrived and I'm really happy with it, so I thought I would show you. Now the company is Pacific Label Store. They're on Etsy. You get to design exactly what you want. So how it works, so I've got my phone here, is when you select one of their, well, how do I describe it? Let's go to the one I did. Okay, it's just a simple little label, and you get to write three things on it: a logo, a name, and then another name or a word. And then as you go through, you pick how many you want and also your quantity. But when you get to the next stage, they'll give you pages and pages of numbers. Now see those little numbers there? So for example, I picked, I'm going to take my glasses off to see it. I picked E39, which was this little open heart. I think that's the one I picked. Yeah, I did. So they first of all printed the little open heart. So you get to print a little emblem, for want of a better word, and there's heaps to pick from. You might pick a butterfly or a bee or knitting needles. There's all sorts there. Actually, it looks like E34 is the one I picked. Yeah, that one there. So I picked the little heart. Then as you flip through the screens, and there's like drop down menus there, you start to get to the style of writing. So I can't recall which one I picked there, but maybe I can spot it. I went for something quite cursive. Yeah, there's a few. My Heart, I think I picked, looking at the T. Yeah, that's the one I picked. My Heart, down the bottom, F76. So there's my script. And then you can, I think, pick one more if you want the first line to be something and the second line to be a different style. I didn't. I just left it at the one, and I just wrote then the text I wanted printed. So, and the other thing I think I picked is the size. So 15 mil by 70 mil. I believe that's the one. So it'd be in Australia, 7 centimetres. Yeah, 70 mil by 15 mil. I think that's pretty good. It's a soft creamy colour. I think there was 3 to pick from. And I think that is really good. I'm going to stitch it on. Let's do it. I guess the other thing too is you could tea dye them so that they're got a more of an aged look if you needed. I thought a neutral creamy colour would actually work really well. Now this order, I think, let me go to my shopping cart. I've got 100 here, and they cost me $36. Shipping was $7.61, and they came from Carolina in America. And I got a little note on there saying, thank you for supporting my small business. And as I said, I have looked for so many labels, and a lot of them come out of China, and I know that there's businesses out there that can do this on big printers. So I finally found someone, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. So Honey Bear is going to get a little label stitched onto her panel. Why not? Why not? I'm going to just trim it down a little bit. I like how you've got options of, you know, making it a little bit longer or shorter, or I'll just pop it in there with a little stitch or two. So there you go. I thought I'd show you that. The other thing, while I was looking up the details of that, I placed an order for something for Honey Bear. Don't tell her, she's still out and about. I don't know what's with that bear at the moment. It's like it's all going to her head. She's been in the cupboard for years and happy with that. Has never complained. But now that she's out of the cupboard, she's been to the lounge room, she's been to the bedroom, back to the lounge room, she's now in the kitchen. Like, she's just, I don't know. She's just not around at the moment. She's gallivanting. So I thought, well, while she's out of the craft room, I'll order her a bee brooch. Now, a few of you suggested that at the top of her neck, where the little collar scooped in, we could put a brooch there. I finally had a moment to go through all of the brooches that I have inherited, but nothing is quite right. Nothing. They're more suitable to the mannequin. So I was sitting here and I thought a bee brooch. I think two of you may have suggested a bee brooch, and I thought, genius. So I found this little brooch. It's got some pearls on it, some diamantes, and I thought, we've put a pearl button on the back of her neckline. I've put little pearls on her pocket, and I thought that would just suit beautifully. So this company, they look like they're only small. They've only got a few products. They had a second bee. That's that one. I just didn't think it suited. I thought that one was better. It's tiny too. Like, it's going to be perfect, I think. It was only $11.55 on sale, so I thought that's good. They've got a few other little things. I nearly ordered the swan. Oh, I just think that's beautiful. And then when I got to the shopping cart, I'm thinking it's another $32 plus a bit of postage. And like, just, you do not need a swan. So I took the swan out of the shopping cart. So now I'm not sure where they're coming from. I'm going to assume China, but it doesn't actually say, but I'll assume that could be anywhere. So there you go. So we've done a little bit of shopping for Honey Bear. Okay, so let's just do a little stitch around here. So yeah, I'll put the details of the label company in my description, because I'm pretty impressed actually with what I got. I might even revisit them and see if I can find a teeny tiny one, because sometimes you just don't have that space. So I'm just doing a little running stitch. That should hold it. I often use laundry labels that are my initials, but sometimes your work doesn't need a red label, like it's just blaringly red. So I thought if I go neutral, at least I can sign it. So I'll go back through my pieces now and just pop a little label, even if it's on the back. At least there's something. Oops. I'm just having a memory come back of Grandma sitting there doing tapestries. And I remember when I was about 18, I had a part-time job at a service station. My husband already had a job at a servo, and he was doing night shifts, so we'd started dating, and I got a job not only at his service station doing the day shift with the owners, but a servo up the road. So we were madly trying to get ourselves established. So he was doing the service station work. He was security. He had a friend who had a security contract at a car yard. So he was doing night work, and then I come along and I got some work in amongst the servo industry as well, doing some day shifts, and I met this lady. This is where I'm heading with the story. I met this lady. She was a customer, and she was a nurse, and she was always coming in the wee hours of the morning, having finished night shift. She was a theatre nurse, and she was the loveliest lady, and every so often she'd just hang around for a little chat. She's probably about 15 years older than me. And we just started chatting about what we liked to do. And we had similar tastes. We liked craft and stitching and painting and folk art and ceramics, all the things that you were doing in the mid-90s. So long story short, again, let's shorten this girl. She said that she would dearly love to open herself a little craft shop one day. And I was like, oh, gosh, that'd be so much fun. If you ever need anyone, let me know. So about 6 months went on, and she come in the one morning and she said, I've just quit my job and I'm opening a craft shop. Would you like to come and work for me? And I was like, oh, yes. So lickety-split, I was out of there. I think I did keep my servo job for a little bit, but we were so busy in the little craft shop that I quickly left my service station job and I went full-time over to her. So I was there probably about 2 years, and it was great because we were opposite a major hospital in Brisbane, and it was really busy, and there was always different people coming in because they may have a loved one in hospital. So, and I was bumping into heaps of people I knew from my country town community because they were down in Brisbane, for whatever reason, at the connected to the hospital. And it was just so much fun. We did a lot of classes, so she was really good at folk art. So just to help her out, she was teaching me the basics, and then I'd teach classes in folk art, just the basic stuff. But she was really good. And, we did all sorts of things. Then unfortunately, she became quite sick, so she sold the business. But she built it up, and it was really good. Didn't seem to last much longer after we left. So I don't know what sort of happened, but yeah, it was good. So what I'm doing, I think I mentioned this in one of the other videos, I have a plan to make these little flowers 3-dimensional. So I'm just cutting out of this fabric some little petals, and I'm hoping that I can stitch them down with them sort of a little bit floppy at the end. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm cutting out itty bitty petals, tiny little petals, and hopefully I'm trying to give them a bit of a longish base so that I can get a needle and thread through them in the center. But I do need to get the shape of the petal right at the other end. I don't want it too big that it overpowers the little flower. I'm wondering if I should start my needle and thread and catch it as I go, because it's getting fiddly. I might use a fine needle because I've got a tiny little piece of fabric here, and if I push a big needle through, I'll get Reginald out. He's the man for the job. I'll probably break down the end of the fabric too much. with a big needle pushing through. I might also get my quilter's glue out. That might help just to have that little bit of tackiness there. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not a fan of this, but it's okay. It's good for putting on the surface that you're working at, not so much for the piece of fabric you're applying, because it tends to be, it's very, like it glues well, but it's very firm in its texture. So when you're dragging it along the edge of fabric, I find that I tend to pretty much destroy the fabric. It sort of starts really breaking down. So I don't use it a lot. But for this, with a little dob in there to hold it into position, that's fine. But just be mindful that if you are heavy-handed with it, like me, you'll find that your edges will lose their nice sharp look that you may be wanting. There we go. So the center has some glue, but the outer edges of each of those petals does not. Does that make sense? So for me, it's Sunday. For you, I think it's probably Tuesday. So my voice is really husky because we had a play date with my cousin. She's got a puppy, and she rang up and said, "Oh, what are you doing? We'll come over and say good day, and haven't seen her for a while and catch up." So I said, "Well, come in the afternoon and we will have, we'll fire up the barbecue." I think I mentioned this. Fire up the barbecue or start the barbecue. It's funny how some of my words I use trick you guys up. There's a lovely lady said, "What do you mean by fire up the barbecue?" I was like, oh yeah, all these little slangy words that we say in our language per country can really trick people up. So she came over with her husband and her son, and we had a puppy play date, and it didn't go real well at first. Bandit went in heavy to sniff Puppy. Puppy's 5 months old. And Puppy got a little frightened and snapped back and snapped Bandit on the nose. She managed to land a blow. And then Bandit was like, "No, you don't you dare bite me." And he went in with his big mouth and grabbed her by the scruff of the neck. So all hang broke loose. Pepper's in amongst it going, "What's going on? What did I miss? What's happening?" So, yeah, it didn't go real well. But after many hours of little Puppy retreating behind us, sneaking out, having a look, coming back, and Bandit going, "Oh, I've forgotten what happened." "Did something happen? Where are you, Puppy? Let's play." Like, he forgets immediately. But little Puppy was like, he's so scary. But anyway, we had planned to have a steak sandwich, and I don't think I need that needle and thread yet. I'll wait till the very end. So they calmed down, but it took a little while. Not so much for my guys, because Bandit's got the attention span of a gnat still. Pepper, she didn't care. She was just like, "Oh, whatever. If you guys have had a little dust up, nothing to do with me." So eventually, her name's Moocher, this puppy. So eventually Moocher got her confidence, the poor little dear. And by the end of the evening, because they end up staying after dark, and Teresa and I just sat around our little barbecue. It's like they call it an Oz pig. It's like a black barrel. You put your timber in. It's got a grill, a hot plate, but it'd be no bigger than 3 pieces of paper out of your printer. It's only small, but it's perfect. You can cook for at least 6 people on it if you take your time and think about, what you're cooking. I find it really fun to cook on. It feels like you're on an open fire. So we then sat in front of it, playing with the dogs and chatting and stoking the fire, and the boys, I don't know what the boys got up to. They all went off husbands and lad. And yeah, it was a really good night, other than the incident when they first arrived. I think next time Puppy arrives, it might be just me, Teresa, my 2 dogs and Puppy. We had everyone sort of standing there, and we were giving them a moment through the fencing just to sniff and meet. And it got quite accelerated in noise and excitement quickly. So my 2 were not only going, wow, there's 3 people here to play with. That's exciting. And there's a puppy. I think I could have controlled it better. I was thinking about it this morning. And I think next time it'll be Teresa and I and the 3 dogs. Just give us a moment for the dogs to get their heads around what's... I don't like this. I'm finding that I need a different coloured flower in between. Is that glued down? Yeah, I think we probably overwhelmed them, and then the little puppy got frightened and snapped because she was cornered in this fence as well. Yeah, thinking back on it, just wasn't the best. We've had plenty of puppies come and visit, and we've never had a problem, but I guess it only takes the one little dog who's a little bit more shy, and she definitely is. She's a soft little thing. So, yeah, I could have controlled the situation a little better. Luckily, Puppy gathered her confidence by the end of the evening. It took a little while, but so we declared that, and she doesn't see a lot of other dogs, and that was part of the reason that Teresa came over. She said, we just don't get out to a lot of doggy areas. Well, and when we do, there's no one there where they live. So she said, we really need to work on socialising her. And I said, well, bring her over and we'll run her with my 2, and we'll get her warmed up to the idea of hanging out. Yeah, it didn't go real well, the poor little possum. But she did come good. The beauty of puppies, if you can keep working on it and turn it into a positive experience, then you're fine. But so we're going to plan to catch up every other week, even if it's just an hour or so. Bring her over, let her have a little sniff and a run and a play, because by the end of the evening, my 2 were like sitting there beside the fire going, well, where's our supper and why aren't we in bed? You know, they'd finished their day, and she was starting to get quite confident and jumping around and, come on, come and play with me. And they were like, no, it's actually dark now and it's our bedtime and we should be having dinner. I keep cutting the wrong size. So what I'm doing is putting a darker one in behind. I grabbed this little piece of fabric out because of the little flowers, and I thought, oh, I could put them in the centre of the flower. That's good. One more. So that was my evening. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't at first, but I find dog psychology really interesting. Luckily, Pepper is quite chilled. She's the older one. Bandit, the problem with Bandit is he's still a puppy himself. He's just over 18 months old. So he comes on hot and heavy, as in play mode. And he's like a small horse. So he doesn't realise, A, his own strength, and B, that he's probably a little bit too much dog for a little dog. You know what I mean? He's a big goose, big buffhead. He's becoming quite a large dog. And when he comes bounding in with excitement, he can easily knock someone over if you're not aware. He doesn't think any different because he's just like, hello, how are you? I love you. Please play with me. Where Pepper's like more, yeah, whatever. I'm mature now. I'm not a puppy. So it was just a little bit too much bandit for little Moocher. But it was all good in the end. If we keep getting them together, she'll relax. There's other doggies that come to visit, and there's always that first time, and then the second time's better. And by the time you get to the third, there's one fellow, Bruce. It's actually Bandit's brother, and he's now got a little sister, Sky. And Sky's the pup. Bruce is same age as Bandit. And then there's an old boy in amongst it, Maddock. He'd be 16. He's the old boy. He comes along too, and he waddles in. Doesn't do much running anymore, but he comes in and he's the boss of it all. And Bruce was very unsure at first. And Bandit was like, oh my goodness, hello, come and play with me. And Bruce was like, who are you? Even though they were brothers, he just was a bit standoffish. And now, apparently, when he gets to the roundabout, probably a kilometre away down the road, he'll be in the back seat of the car, and his mum says that he starts getting really fidgety and he'll start barking and howling and carrying on like a pork chop because he's realised that he's visiting Bandit and Pepper, and it's an afternoon of running and playing. And now he was unsure at first, and he was a little bit on the, get out of my face. And Bandit's like, come and play with me, and all over him. See, Bandit's the problem. It's never the guest, it's Bandit. He's like, everyone's a toy to Bandit. There we go. I finished placing my little flowers. Just tiny little bits. Now my thought was using one of these in the centre. So I need to make sure my colours stand out. So I've had fun and games, and my voice is husky, which is the whole reason the whole story started, is because I've been sitting in front of a little open fire all night. We were actually laughing. The fire went out. The son was in charge of it, and we're chatting away and, catching up, and we turned around and the fire had really died down, and I said, come on, Charlie, you're supposed to be keeping this going for us girls. And no, he was busy with the boys, so I thought, righto. So we regathered sticks in the dark and got a good piece of timber to get her stoked up again. But we didn't have any paper left. We'd sort of burnt the box that the ice creams came in. We'd burnt a lot of bits and pieces. So I came back inside, and I'm in the process of turning over my archives for the business. So in Australia, we have to keep our paperwork for 7 years. So our financial year ends every June. So at that point, you can go back 7 years and pull out the paperwork from 7 years ago and destroy it. And we've got quite a bit of paperwork each year. By the time you keep all of the till receipts, the FPOS receipts and the printouts that come from each day, and then that's before you look at all the things that I have to keep. Where does that piece of fabric go? So it's quite a pile. And it's around June, July, it's cold, we're having fires sitting outside around campfire. So I usually just burn it all, and it saves it going to the dump. Anyway, so I raced inside to grab more paper, and I spotted the file sitting there. So I said to Teresa, righto, we can do this. This will give us something to do. So we sat there with a pile of it on our lap, going through it, tearing it up and putting it into the fire. So that was our entertainment. And I said, you're helping me get rid of all of this stuff. I don't know why we have to keep this stuff anymore. we were talking about that. Considering that everything's digital, every receipt you get from a shop now, it usually fades after no time because it's printed with a heat printer, you know, the thermal printer. So it's not actually ink. So within a month, you can't read your receipt from your hardware store or, you know. So why do we have to keep it all? If they want the tax department's the one that would be wanting it. Let's say the tax department come along and want to audit us and do a check on everything. Everything's in the system. I can pull up all sorts of reports. So, I don't know. It's got to change. It has to be. I think it will. Everything's in the cloud. So we're sitting there burning these old papers as invoices and, you know, all sorts of stuff. And the smoke's going up the little chimney. And we were joking, saying, well, it's now in the cloud. It's literally smoke in the cloud. That's our filing system. So I said, well, when the tax department comes and said we'd like to have a look at something from whatever year, I can say to them, oh, it's stored in the cloud. it's the smoke in the cloud. For those of you out there that own a business, I bet you're chuckling. I bet you know what I'm talking about. So that's what I'm going to say to the auditors in the future. And if they look at me and say, well, get it from the cloud, I can then just say, oh, I forgot my password because I didn't set up Face ID on my Apple phone. There's no way in hell I'll remember the password. Somehow I don't think that would fly. Meanwhile, we've got to keep our records. But it is therapeutic every July when I can go to the cupboard and pull out the boxes from 7 years ago, and light them up, send them to the cloud, store them in the cloud. So I'm just going around and putting an itty bitty stitch in each petal. By putting that little centre flower in there, not only have I caught a stitch in the centre, but I've been able to put a stitch just at the edge of that little circle. So that ensures I'm getting plenty of fabric caught down on this little flower. Just a tiny stitch. I am using cream cotton, and technically I should have gone and probably found a brown, but it's okay. It's slow stitch. We like to see the process in the stitching. So I don't mind seeing my little tacking stitches. Mind you, you'd have to be really looking to see this. There's so much going on. Happy with the way it's come together. Colour schemes worked really well. I was looking at that piece of fabric after I finished filming yesterday, and some of those other flowers on it I think will reappear on her dress. I like the chocolate tone that we're getting from this fabric, and it does have a bit of a blue wash through it, and there's a second bird there that we might be able to utilise, and then there's just some gorgeous roses and some of these leaves, these sketches, I think might be handy for future embellishments. So I think I've found the feature fabric for honey bears. And then if I do any more embroidery, we'll keep it very stick-like chocolate, and, you know, like even her monogram, it's all these neutral tones. Like it just fits beautifully. So you're not even in camera, Corrine. So, yeah. Now, as I did that, I looked at that fabric on her pocket, and there's a little blue flower. So I'm thinking of doing some little blue flowers on our... Oh, don't pull that off. Please, please be gentle. Oh, no. Back it up. Nearly pulled the whole petal off. So what I've just spotted... How are we going for time? Plenty of time. I'm going to grab the fabric. I put it away. I don't think I need those. I'm not going to do any more stitching, I don't think. I'm going to do fabric laying. I'm thinking here, see this, see that flower on her little dress? I think I could cut a couple of those out and work them in. Just going to grab Honey Bear's box of bits and pieces for the project and pull out that fabric. Here it is. Does it come in any other colours? Don't think so. All right. So let's were there any scraps that may have had a flower on it? Before I go and chop into it. No, only that one. I don't think I've... Yep, here we go. So there's one. So I'm just going to fussy cut out the little flower. I had planned on putting some petals over that bud there, but that flower has overpowered it. I don't think I'd even noticed that there was a bud there. I'm not going to pursue that. So what I'm thinking is we put some little flowers over here. We could even come up onto this, but there's no leaves. No, there's no leaves on that. I think I'm just going to leave that as just a point of interest. Might get 3. Here's another little guy here. And here. So now just get a bit of a flowery shape. Like you could really go to town. We could cut more leaves out. Just creating layers and clusters and just tuck him in behind, I think. He's got a bit of a flat petal. So let's get that in behind. Where'd the other one go? And then this guy there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's grab our needle and thread. See, that's simple. Let's get it stitched down. I might just put a dab of glue. Let's do the one behind first. other two. There we go. I would have filmed this video yesterday because I did them all in a row and I was just so enjoying this piece. It was like a brand new little project for me. So I was really enjoying it. But the day just rolled on and I knew my cousin was coming over and I thought, oh, I so need to just stop and, you know, get some food prepared. And there was leaves everywhere. It had been really windy and the sugarcane mulch I use on my garden and the leaves had started drifting in onto the patio. So I just need the blower. I'd run out of time to do anything more than that, like a proper hose down. And I thought, oh, that'll do. The dogs are only going to run like lunatics through it all anyway and flick it back onto the patio. So, yeah, I ran out of time and I was so in the groove of this piece. I just wanted to, you know, go again and finish it. And I knew there was one more video I could do with you guys and then it would be done. My voice really is husky. It's all that smoke. Probably talking to my cousin all night. When we get together, we really yabba, yabba, yabba. She's younger than me. Her mum and my mum are sisters. She has two brothers, an older one and a younger one. So it was really good just to catch up and chat. And her father unfortunately passed away when he was quite young. I think he was just over 50. It was quite sad and sudden. A headache turned into something really sinister and he was gone within weeks. It was just horrible. So she's just got her mum and then of course I lost my mum. So yeah, we've sort of got a bit in common at the moment. But yeah, we've been chums ever since. So her brothers, they were a bit of ratbags growing up. So she was always the girl that got picked on out of the three. But being three with kids, you tend to have two will be really chummy and they'll be picking on the other one. And then it'll change. Within an hour, it can be the other two are picking on the other one. So it was always quite interesting dynamics with her and her two brothers. And then when I came along to visit and my brother, it was everyone flipping sides even more with the five of us. And I'm the oldest by about 6 months. And then it went my cousin Teresa and then my brother, then her younger brother. So it was we're a pretty tight little group of cousins. A lot of school holidays together. Now, what I want to do is I want to do something in the centre of those. I'm tempted to bring pearls and things in, but I haven't put any pearls on it. So I'm wondering if I should just do a nice French knot. Keep it simple. I think I will. I think I'm just going to use 3 strands. 2. Don't want it too big. I do feel like I should put a pearl in there. Just using the pin. No, I'll keep it neutral. Have I got 3 strands? Yeah, I do. No, I don't. Oh well, we've got 2. I'll do then a French knot. That way I can get a few extra wraps and one, 2, 3, 4, and back down. There we go. Lovely. I love it when a French knot sits properly. They look great. Don't always sit properly. 1, 2, 3, 4. What have I got planned for the rest of today? It's a Sunday afternoon coming up. Nothing planned. No visitors. Don't need to go anywhere. Should probably go and do grocery shopping, but could not be bothered. Eat what's in the cupboard for a few more days. Oh, I know what I've got to do. I've got to get my Jennifer Colston piece. Remember I did a class with her about a month or so ago? I've got another 2 classes. It's a whole day booked for middle of August. I think 16th, which is coming up fast. And I've got homework to do. I've got to finish all of the greenery that I stitched onto that piece so that in the next class we can focus on flowers, different styles of flowers. And I haven't done it yet. So I think this afternoon I will work on my Jennifer Colston sampler and finish all of the greenery so that when I rock up to class, I've been a good girl and we can get straight into using pretty ribbons and things to make our piece. Okay, that's it. Honey Bear, where are you, Honey Bear? Oh, goodness. Let me grab her little dress. The other thing I've been thinking about for Honey Bear is a teddy for the pocket. A few of you have mentioned it over the last few weeks as well. And I've been sort of thinking about it a little bit, and I thought, well, that would be fun. I can buy a little teddy, no problems. There's little teddies out there that are 3 or 4 inches tall. But I thought that maybe we could make one, like a really simple one, very as if it was the 1700s. So it was maybe even one pattern, one shape, like a little, I'm just looking at this here. This is that piece of fabric that had the lint and that in it when I pulled this off. Like making something out of this where we just make a basic bear shape and then do some stitching on it. That's what I'm thinking about doing for the pocket. So one day, we've got time. We'll see how the prompts go. Maybe there'll be a prompt come up that works beautifully with it. Yeah, I like that. I could pull it over a bit further and take it right up to that seam. It would hide the side seam a little bit. Yeah, I like that. Gives a little bit of space too if we want to merge something in. I won't stitch it on yet. I'm just a bit reluctant to do that until we sort of know a little bit more of the prompts, just in case I need to move it. So I'll pin it on her little dress. I think a lot of you are doing this with your panels, just making all your bits and just pin them on there. It is fun playing with the placement then of all of these little elements, and you might find that you're constantly moving them around. So I think I'll just pin it, and then maybe in the final couple weeks all of these little pieces will be stitched down, gathering all of the little treasures as we go. There we go. There it is. It's a rather big patch. Let me zoom up a little bit, but it's coming together. Oh, Honey Bear. And she's still got her little lacy bits in the pocket. They'll come in handy somewhere. Whether they then start merging in under things to connect pieces together, who knows? So we'll be able to play with all that when we start building it. She's going to love her little dress. If not, well, she's a hard girl to please. All right, guys, that's it. Wow, that's so pretty. I really, really like it. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Have a lovely day. And, yeah, it's Tuesday for us when we're watching this. So have a good week. See you then. Bye.